Hey y'all, welcome to the filling station. It's a new day, a new opportunity, right, to make money in the market or use this day as a learning day. Let me say that. But let me go ahead and first give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor, y'all. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And guess what? The stock market is just one of those avenues, right? So, with that being said, this video is for educational purposes only. Yeah, let's get started, y'all. So, we are looking at SMCI, right? And yeah, this is one that you just have to watch the stock. And I swung a put, and I didn't put a lot into it. But with this stock, you don't have to put a lot in to make a decent profit or double whatever. It just moves just that fast, right? So the stock actually closed at 1000.68, and if I'm not mistaken, it recently got added to the S&P 500. So yeah, the stock is down. It ran up a few days back, and we're going to go to the daily chart first because I need to explain to you why I chose to swing a put, which I normally do not do. Let me go ahead and say that I am not one to swing a position, and the reason for that is because it could be up today and you wake up tomorrow, it got some bad news. It could be all the way down. So if I swing anything, I'm willing to lose all of it. So whatever I put in that particular option, I'm willing to lose it all if it comes to that. That would be the only way that I would swing it, right? Because you're taking a chance. It's a high risk if you swing overnight. So that's something to think about, right? That's just how I am. That's how I trade. Again, we are looking at SMCI. I'm going to go to the daily chart for just a minute, and I am going to show you why I decided to swing this position, not thinking about the S&P 500 edition, being added. Normally, to my understanding, if the stock that's being added will decrease and the stock that's being replaced normally increases, which is totally different for me. But hey, I just pay attention to patterns, right? So we are looking at SMCI on the daily chart. And yesterday I noticed it had been, when I looked at the daily chart, we had been consolidating, right? And once it broke out of that consolidation, we came up and tried to test that yesterday. This was yesterday's high, which was 1147.79, right? So once it hit this high, it got rejected at that area and it starts selling off. So because of it breaking out of a consolidation, that's what made me consider getting into the position to the downside, right? Well, yesterday I noticed that it had a gap that needed to be filled, starting at the 1018.63 down to the 922.97. But it could very well have found support on the 20 EMA, which it did, right? Here we see that on the daily chart. There, that was support. So it looks as if it still didn't close that gap, right? So I'm looking at this gap that needs to be filled. Well, on further down, there's another gap from 221 starting at 836.04 down to the 777.24, which is a big gap down in my opinion. It still has a lot that it can continue dropping. And this particular stock, as you can see, moves $104.23 a day. So it is doable. Can it drop that far? It very well can in a very short length of time. Let me say that because, again, we are already pre-market, looking at this pre-market, it's already down 9.48%, which is almost $95 pre-market. The market has not opened yet, right? So I'm going to look at my puts when the market open. So going back to the 30-minute, that's where I always start on the 30-minute chart, which is here. And it looks like we're breaking out of a gathering spot. And when looking at it here, it looks like we are in a good position to continue down, right? It tested the 900. It could very well, it's under the 5 EMA. It could very well come down and fill that gap. I have down here at the lower end. So yeah, if SMCI is something that you trade, again, I would say trade carefully. Be very, very careful with that. Something to think about is, looking at your daily charts and seeing that it did break out of a gathering spot or consolidation area. That was my reason for swinging the put, which I normally don't do. And I'm going to go and adjust this chart because it's going to drive me crazy. Yeah, so this is it on the 5-minute chart. Looking at it from a different view. 5 and 50 has crossed to the downside. We're under the 5 EMA. So again, on the downside of this trade is where I will be looking overall. I would stay just following the charts and what the charts are saying to me, right? Did the MACD cross? Did the 5 and 50 cross? Am I under the 5 EMA? Those are things that I ask myself when I'm looking at a position. Let me get that right. When I'm looking at a position, right? So listen, we're going to go to Tesla, y'all, because y'all know that's my favorite. I really enjoy Tesla. And this was interesting yesterday. Y'all, I pay attention to pattern. Tesla has been down, right? And we tested the 160.51. I remember that area, strangely, oddly. I remember that. Yesterday, we got up to 175.67. That's a red flag for me. Why is Tesla at the 160 range, then running all the way back to the 175? I always say ride the wave. Get in where you can get in and get out. But that swinging, I would not have swung Tesla. I was cautious about the upside move, and I think I said repeatedly, I do not trust this move to the upside, and this is why. So let's go to the 30-minute chart, because that's, again, where I like to start. So, yes, Tesla at 5 this morning hit 175.67, right? How ironically it consolidated a little bit, and sure enough, we just had a nice little sell down, a sell off. It's what I like to say. And y'all, I'm telling you, we can't move the market like that. So somebody's selling Tesla, and it makes sense because Tesla was up yesterday a lot. Let me say that for whatever reason. But again, I learned by patterns. I pay attention to the pattern and what the pattern is showing me, right? So right now, Tesla is down $2.27 pre-market, which is 1.31% overall, right? So I will be looking to trade Tesla to the downside, in my opinion. Can we find support right here on this 50 EMA and this ATR trailing stop? We very well can. So that 170.79, I'm going to mark that, because that's an area, that's a trouble place for me. And when I say a trouble place, that's an area that I can find support, right? So I'm going to mark that here. And that 50 EMA, I know those two lines are very much close to each other, so I'm going to just leave that for right now. But normally I will mark those so that when I go to a smaller time frame, I can see that, hey, Tesla could find support on this 50 EMA, or Tesla can find support on this ATR trailing stop. The concern is we are now trading under the 200-day moving average on the 30-minute chart. So if it comes up, it could very well get rejected. And a lot, again, looking at Tesla, we have a lot of trouble ahead, right? So let's go to the 5-minute. Look what it's doing. It's breaking out of a gathering spot, right? It looks like it's breaking to the downside. We are now under the 5 EMA. This is one of them ride the 5 situations, right? We have a 5 and 50 crossing. That would have been an entry. My MACD is telling me right here that's an entry. So what do I see for Tesla? It looks as if yesterday was a strong move up. Today could very well be a strong move down. So again, I am in puts for Tesla because I did not see. And again, when I swing a put or swing puts or anything like that, it's whatever I put in, I'm willing to lose. I am trading Tesla to the downside. I do believe that we got some more downside movement, in my opinion. And keep in mind, we have the Fed rate decision tomorrow. That's something to think about. Right? Just keep that in mind. So again, Tesla is breaking out of a gathering spot here. So normally I mark that on the 30-minute chart. I'm going to mark that here on the 5-minute, and I keep those lines blue, and I'm going to mark it here just so that I'll know that this was a previous support and resistance for me during pre-market. So even if we break under this, and come back and try to test that again, I know that we're going to have trouble in that area, and you can see it a little bit clearer here. So in my opinion, Tesla is probably going to trade to the downside. It looks like we had trouble here pre-market. I don't see any news coming out thus far that will, trick us and take us back in a different direction, but anything is possible. Don't ever think that it can't do, because just when you think it can't, it will. Let me say that. This is looking at Tesla on a higher time frame, right? So again, we broke out of a consolidation. As you can see here, this is the gathering spot on the 1 hour. We broke out of that. We came down and trying to find support. Isn't that 170, 125 area right here? That is what I just marked on the 5-minute chart. And do you see that is support? We use that as support and resistance. The whole point in marking your gathering spot, or what I like to, what I call the gathering spot, or your consolidation areas, is so so that you can identify your support and your resistance. So it looks as if Tesla breaks below this 171.25, we could very well come down to this 170.74. If we break that level, I still have the 170.05 here, or the 169.92. So those are areas that we know that Tesla can come down and test those areas here. This light purple area, lavender color here, was previous support and or resistance on a 30-minute time frame from yesterday. And I just left that on my chart. As you can see, that was pre-market, ran up, consolidated, tested, made a new high a little bit here, came down. So I would say be careful, trade what you see, pay attention to your charts. What are your charts saying? What are your charts showing you? And on this 4-hour time frame, Tesla again consolidated. Looks like we're breaking out of that consolidation. Y'all go, what I would like to say is, go in, figure out where your trouble places are. Where are my support areas? Where are my resistance areas? It looks like Tesla is breaking down based on what I saw from yesterday's high moving up. It should have been it's time. I'm not gonna say it should have been. It was just interesting that it ran up on yesterday. Let me go ahead and say that. So again, this is your gathering spot, right? So if Tesla breaks above this 171.94, which will be above the 5 EMA, and we could very well come back and test this area at 172.30, right? Again, if it breaks below 171.25, it could come back down and test a lot of those other areas that we had marked as support and resistance. And I do remember having the 160.51, the 159.63, 158.89, and 157.33. Those are areas of support that I had marked on my charts for Tesla. So yeah, that's something to think about. Tesla looks like overall this far pre-market, we looks like we're having some issues. We're trading we're trading down. Yeah, we're trading down, which the VIX is up. So before I go to the SPY, let's look at the VIX, right? Yesterday, the VIX is at 174. 1474, right? So it made a high of 1486. And let's look at the VIX on a daily chart, because that's where, remember, I mentioned if we get above $16 for the VIX, we could very well have trouble. We came down on yesterday to test, we came down, made some lows yesterday, but it looks like we're above those areas. We're above the 5 EMA on the daily chart. That's something to think about, right? So we could very well come up and test this 200-day EMA, which is around the 1531 area here. If we get above this area, we could very well continue to the upside, which will mean the SPY will be down. I have to literally say that every time. VIX up, SPY down. That's crazy, right? So it tells me here that the VIX is trying to go to the upside. So now let's go and look at the SPY and see if the SPY is coming down, right? VIX up. When the VIX is up, the SPY is down, right? So this is the 4-hour, still on the VIX real quick. This is the 4-hour. It looks like we can come back up and test this 1553 area, which is right up above that 200-day EMA on the daily chart. That's something to think about. Keep in mind, if the VIX rise, that means the stock, the overall, S&P 500, those places, stocks are going to go down. That's normally how it happens. That's not set in stone, because guess what? Anything is possible, and it can change at any given moment, right? So we're going to look at the SPY and see where we are with the SPY. I'm going to go to the 30-minute time frame, because that's where I like to start. And look, we broke out of a consolidation right here, and SPY is down. And I was in a position for the SPY, and I sold it at the end of the day, because I felt like I had too many swing trades, and I normally don't do that. So had to make a decision, and I did, and I'm grateful at the ones that I did swing, right? So SPY broke out of a gathering spot. It broke out of a consolidation area. We are 5 and 50 did cross on the 30-minute chart, which is here. We are headed to the downside, right? But it made sense because the VIX was up. The VIX was trying to go to the upside, which means the SPY is trying to come to the downside. So just keep that in mind. If you're ever wanting to look at the SPY, start with the VIX and kind of see if they're in sync. And when I say in sync, VIX up, SPY down. I have to say it literally every single time, right? So looking at the 30-minute spot again, we broke out of a consolidation. It looks like we're down. We're going down. And I'm going to see how much the SPY is down pre-market, because that's going to determine a lot. Can we go and get some news and run back to the upside? Anything is possible in the market, right? So right now we're down $2.17, which is 0.42% pre-market thus far with the SPY. So it looks like we're having a red day, like the market is down today. Based on, we looked at SMCI, it was down, Tesla was down, SPY was down, VIX was up. So we trade what you see. Don't focus on these stocks are down, or this sector is down, or this is down. Get you trade what you see. Pay attention to your charts and see what your charts are telling you. So again, looking at the SPY, we broke out of a gathering spot on the 30-minute chart. And if I were to mark that area here on the 30-minute, and it's not y'all, this is just an idea for us, right? It just tells us this is an area that the SPY could very well trade in. And this is how I mark it. And it's no, again, no right or wrong, or it works for me. Let me say that. So I make it a lavender area, and I went a little bit higher on that candle than I normally do here, because I would have stopped here. Because normally right before, in my opinion, it will go up and then it'll come back down. So as you can see, that this is where that body of that candle is. This is where the body of, it's coming down and trying to retest that area and got rejected. So I normally use this area here. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to add that what I normally would use, right? I'm going to take that top line off. Because yes, so this will be my gathering spot for the SPY. I'm going to go to the 5-minute time frame, and I'm going to see where we are in reference to this. It would have been here on the 30-minute. We would have broken out of that gathering spot, which we did, and we are coming down, as you can see. We broke out of the gathering spot, which would have been on the 30-minute chart. It would have been at the 512.81 to 512.06, and that would have been here on the 5-minute chart. Just making sure, because there is lavender lines here, and it's for a reason. Yes, it's for a reason. So this is our gathering spot. SPY broke out of the gathering spot on the 5-minute chart. We have a MACD here that if you are looking to enter this trade, you could have entered here. And you could have traded this as it came out of that, broke through that support area and traded it to the downside. So if you would have entered your trade based on, so you would have entered around 511.91, and you could have very well scalped it down, all the way down to this 510.42, which would have been a nice scalp. See, when the MACD start flattening here, that would have been my signal to try to get out, and it was in oversold right here. That's another signal to get out. So y'all, I use the pre-market to see where we are with the market, but I also use it as a teaching place to where, sometimes you can see where you would have entered trades or where we could have exited a trade. But again, pay attention to what you see. Look at your charts. What are your charts telling you? It's telling a story. We just have to understand what they mean and how to piece the puzzle together, or piece the story together. Let's say that. So again, SMCI was down. Oh, it hit 892. So I like to mark those pre-market lows. Sometimes it kind of helps me to know, even though I can go back and look at it here, that is a pre-market low. So I'm going to let that sit at 892. Again, we could very well come down and fill the gaps that I have to the downside, which is the gap fill is at 777, right? Just looking at it on this 5-minute chart. And as you move to a higher time frame, you can see it a little bit clearer there. Okay, so SMCI, let's look at NVDA really quick. And NVIDIA high yesterday, make sure I'm looking at yesterday's high was 924, got rejected, came down. 5 and 50 cross, those are signals, and we had a down under the 5 EMA. Okay, so market opens today 4 o'clock. We pre-market trading, right? We see it comes up to this area, which is this high of 888, and got rejected, only to give us, is that a hanging man? It could very well be a hanging man. I always say the body of the candle needs to be, the wick in the body, it needs to be twice as long, meaning I should be able to fit the body in twice. And I hope I explained that right, y'all. But Could that be a hanging man? Possibly. Let's say that, which is a hammer at the bottom of the move, a hanging man at the top of the move, but nonetheless, it still means the same, that it could possibly reverse. So we need to watch this area. Or is that a double top? That's something to think about. So those are signals or signs, to let us know that this is probably getting ready to reverse. We look for those, right? So it looks as if we came down and we're under the 5 EMA. So NVIDIA seems like it too is trading to the downside. So it looks like yesterday we had a run up. Today it looks like we're having a run down. That's something to think about, y'all. So again, I always say trade what you see. Mark your gathering spots or your support or your resistance. Buy at rejection of resistance, or when you're being rejected and you can confirm that rejection, or you buy at support where you can confirm that it has found support in this area, right? So don't rush into your trades. Let the charts tell you what it's doing. Stay focused today, and have an awesome day today. We're gonna make it a great day, right? So y'all, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, y'all. I'm super excited at that, right? And I always like to leave you with this, y'all. Be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.